just jump into the intro. We'll see what happens. Hello and welcome to GameBusters. We're a podcast from GameLuster.com. If you're new to the podcast, each week we take a deep dive into a game or franchise we love or maybe just want to talk about. In true July 4th weekend fashion, Nirav is celebrating independence from me and taking a week off from British people. Probably making many anti-British jokes while he's at it. But joining me this week, I've got Tim from GameLuster.
Also in true American fashion, I'm here to annoy British people.
Hey, someone's got to pick up the slack.
Yeah.
And I've also got, for the first time on the show, my brother Zac from Real Life. Zac, tell us a bit about your real life self.
I play video games. That's a bit about my real life self.
You also want to make them. That's relevant to us.
Yeah, I do want to make games as well. Yeah.
So, yeah, we now have another person to use for knowledge. And for this week... So, I've been trying to get Zac on the show for a while, and he was like, oh, yeah, if you ever do F-Zero, like, I'll 100% be on. And I was like, well, that's never going to happen, because we try and make the games relevant to whatever's going on in the news. And I was like, well, F-Zero is never going to be relevant. And then 2 days ago, you're like, oh, F-Zero's in the news. Because there was it came out in an interview that there was a tech demo for the Switch, which Nintendo rejected. So that makes F-Zero as relevant as it's been in years. So that's the series we'll be diving into this week. But before...
I mean, they also did release a series, an entry for the series. They called it Mario Kart for some reason.
Yeah, God. So this is the second most relevant this series has been since, F-Zero Climax, I guess?
Yeah.
So, but before we dive in, as usual, I just want to hear what you guys have been playing this week. I'm going to ask Zac last because I know what he's been playing this week, and it has been it will be the perfect segue into the show. So, Tim, what have you been playing?
Clan O'Connell, Ender Lilies, Mighty Switch Force HD collection because I got that on the Switch sale. And a whole bunch of stuff on my little Pi emulation box, trying to make it work.
Oh wow, you've had a busy one, and that's a lot of variety there as well.
Well, I've specifically been trying to troubleshoot why certain old ROMs weren't working, and I think I figured it out, and now I need to go find a fix for it.
God, okay. Well, I have not been as exciting as that, As for the last 4 weeks, I think now, I'm still getting through Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I'm still on Mass Effect 2. Yet again, still playing Baldur's Gate as well. I'm doing the DLC content in that before I finish it off. God, what else? Have I played anything else? I've just sort of been watching you play games, haven't I, Zac? Yeah, that's about as exciting. I looked at Crash Team Racing again. That was exciting. So there we go. Relevant to this week. But Zac, what have you been playing this week?
F-Zero. I'm not sure if that's like too relevant to this podcast. But yeah, F-Zero.
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah, Zac, why are you bringing this up? So you made a big accomplishment this week, didn't you, on F-Zero GX?
Yeah, I did. I managed to beat all of the story mode chapters in F-Zero GX on the highest difficulty.
Nice.
I don't know how he managed that. He's been trying since, we were at our old house, which was, 5-6 years ago, I think. Yeah. This has been a long time in the making. That game is so punishing. At one point, he, to try and do the final mission on the hardest difficulty, he pulled up a spreadsheet of all the strats and all the stats of everything in the game to figure out the most optimal way to do it. It's just
so you turned it into a rally game.
It's just such a punishing game. I don't know why you.
Oh no, it is incredibly difficult.
Honestly, it was giving me a headache just watching. And the amount of patience you have just to try again. I don't know how you actually manage that. So, our series this week that we're diving into for our Bustum section is the F-Zero franchise. Which, yeah, if you're I don't want to say the younger in the audience because we're quite young and we know what F-Zero is, but I think most people know Captain Falcon and F-Zero through Smash Bros. Yes. So
yeah. For those of you who only know him through Smash Brothers, it's a racing game. F-Zero stands for Formula Zero, like Formula One, only faster and zero gravity.
So, yeah, he's not a Smash Bros. Character. He actually, at one point, had games. So to start with the first game, F-Zero was a launch title for the SNES, released in Japan in 1990 and then elsewhere in 1991. F-Zero was completely innovative, using Mode 7 graphical engineering technique to, I wish I knew what this meant, to create what was regarded as the most realistic racing game of its time. It's easy to see why it was considered among the best games of the time upon release. Like, even looking at it now, it runs so smooth, the fake 3D graphics are completely believable, and it's aged really well compared to a lot of I guess 3D graphic techniques back then. It holds up so well, and it has a lot of charm in it. The aesthetic is the futuristic, I don't say dystopian. It's a bit dystopian. You got kids running in this deadly race.
That wouldn't be till the later games, to be fair.
Okay, fair enough.
It's neither dystopian nor utopian. It's just sort of future chic.
It's a very unique take on a future setting, I think. It's very flamboyant and over the top, and I love that.
It's a very, I want to say, it reminds me a lot of tokusatsu, and Captain Falcon is not a small part of that, being that he is basically a Kamen Rider hero in look, feel, and tone. Yeah.
So, okay, Zac, we're quite limited with our experience of the first F-Zero. We've probably just played it on Virtual Console and stuff. Tim, what's your experience with the first game?
So I played it right when it came out in the States, and it was a game changer for racing game. It was amazing. Replaying it now, it might seem sorta slow, but only just sorta, because of the advances that the other F-Zeros and Mario Karts have made since then. But yeah, no, the fact that the backgrounds moved with you was amazing. Every previous racing game was either a top-down 3/4, or right behind the vehicle, fake 3D with a little scrolling road texture and occasionally updating sprites on the side to give you a vague approximation of distance. This let you see the track that you were racing on change in real time, react to the other racers on you, and your sprite shifted as you took corners and as your opponents took corners around you, and it completely changed the face of racing. We would not have GTA or Need for Speed without the big step that F-Zero did. That sounds weird because it's so completely unlike it, but because of the hardware and the display leap that it represented, tons of other more realistic racing games took the Mode 7 advances, and that led to 3D. So F-Zero is just bloody amazing. Also, the music is balling, so even in the SNES version.
It still really holds up. I was watching a bit of gameplay because it's been so long since I picked it up, and it's still catchy as hell. You can just tell so much effort went into this, and like you said, I think the whole thing about F-Zero is that whenever it does pop up, it kind of just pushes the genre forward and really pushes it to the limits of what it can do at that point in time. And yeah, you can see the influences, like you said, even in the first Grand Theft Auto games, you can really see where it took inspiration. So Zac, you started probably with GX, didn't you? Or?
Yeah, I started with GX on the GameCube, yeah.
So can you still play the first F-Zero? I know it's accessible now on virtual consoles, but could you still pick it up and have fun?
I could still definitely pick it up and have fun with it, because it is pretty good. I would definitely rather play it than the first Mario Kart. I think the first F-Zero has held up more than the first Mario Kart, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And obviously we're coming from the perspective of we didn't play them upon release because we were not existing at the time. But going back to it, yeah, it's easily of that era, one of the games I could most easily pick up. And it's interesting what we're all praising it, and at the time it got a lot of praise as well. It did phenomenally well critically, and as Tim was saying, incredibly influential in the genre going forward, completely raising the bar of what was possible with racing games. However, despite all of this, we didn't get another game until 1996, and this was a big learning experience for me. Zac, you already knew about these games, I think. The BS F-Zero Grand Prix games.
Yes.
Now, this again seems to be F-Zero being technologically innovative. So innovative, I hadn't heard of this before I started researching for the podcast. So BS F-Zero Grand Prix and its sequel were released using the... Zac, can you say that for me?
Satellaview add-on for the SNES.
Yes.
There we go.
BS Broadcast Satellite Satellaview.
Wow.
Was it Broadcast System Satellaview? I forget exactly what the BS stands for.
Yeah, that would make sense. So games would be released via satellite and then could be downloaded. They could be saved for temporary play, which I imagine was a bit of a nightmare for video game preservation. But then Zac told me that there are ROMs of it in existence, so I guess they aren't lost.
There's a number of them that are partially kept, and then there's reconstruction projects for a lot of the ones that are incomplete. Like people have done recreations to include the timer effect and the voices, using the the expanded memory available to flash carts and virtual stuff and ROMs to recreate what the BS could do, because it was live streaming like audio and whatnot. And then
That's
some of
incredible
it
for the time.
some of its stuff has been recreated in like remakes.
Yeah.
Like there was an add-on for Fire Emblem that gave several additional maps that explained what happened between two chapters with a large time gap between them that got added back into a later version.
Like, how were the games on the Satellaview? Because I think I usually associate peripherals or add-ons that like stayed in Japan or weren't used much outside of Japan with like quite bad games. But how were they generally?
A mixed bag entirely. I mean, some of them were like very simple add-ons. There was Kirby's Toy Box, which was a collection of mini games to promote Kirby DX / Kirby Superstar. But then there was the Zelda remake, which had a new dungeons and a time limit mechanic and random events, and also Ancient Stone Tablets, which is both of these are entirely new Zelda games that exist in basically the same map as Zelda 1 and Zelda 3, Link to the Past. But they are completely new experiences with their own interesting gimmicks and new dungeons.
Okay, so that's really interesting, but like it's just so bizarre that from this like hyper popular franchise, or not proper franchise, but the game doing so well, like the next F-Zero game then had this odd release and wouldn't get a big release into let's see. Yeah, so it didn't get the big release until F-Zero X in 98. Oh no, but first, before we get to F-Zero X, we have to talk about another weird Nintendo venture, the Virtual Boy. So
yes.
After experimenting with and succeeding with fake 3D for the first time, the mid-90s was a time of trying to recreate that experimental magic and just not seeming to succeed. On top of the satellite release, there was the cancelled Virtual Boy title, which would have been a war crime in video game form given how nauseating that console already was.
See, I never actually got any like nausea from the Virtual Boy. I don't know if I'm just weird like that.
Like just watching like recreated videos of like what it was like to play it, it sounds, and also I think it's more the sitting position that probably didn't help.
Sitting position didn't help, but I mean, you prop it up to your actual eye level, and it's fairly fine. But no, I actually played the Virtual Boy, and I never had any problems. So.
Oh god, I very rarely talk to someone who's like actually owned one. Anyway, so...
I don't think I owned it. I think I rented it.
Oh, okay, that's probably the smart thing to do then. Because didn't it get... How many games did it get in the end? It was only a handful, wasn't it?
12?
Oh,
I could double check. I think I have all of them on my little emulator box.
But anyway, yeah, because this is a very experimental thing, of course they had to try an F-Zero with it. So Zac, do you know anything about the F-Zero Virtual Boy game?
I know that there were some screenshots of it shown off in Nintendo Power. The game was never released, but some of the screenshots they showed off the machines, and one of them would have been an entirely new machine called the Origami.
Okay, was there any new characters like associated with it, or I guess you probably couldn't see the characters very well.
You couldn't see the characters, but it was presumed that, like, because I believe the other machines were the usual Blue Falcon, Fire Stingray, and I think it was the Wild Goose. That was the one that I think they got rid of the Golden Fox to replace it with the Origami, and if that was the case, then it would have had their usual pilots, but we never knew who would be piloting the Origami.
And did the Origami ever like appear in other games, or?
I don't think it did. No, I think
not as far as I can remember.
Yeah. Okay. That's weird then. So like they must have got somewhat far in development to like start planning new characters and stuff. I thought it would just be like basic tech demo, and then they decided this isn't gonna work. I wonder how that would have worked, because obviously VR racing games are a big thing now.
Yeah.
And that's the most obvious franchise I could think that would work with the Virtual Boy if it was good. Yeah. But of course that never released, and the series not only returned to its former glory but surpassed it in 1998 with F-Zero X releasing on the N64. Now with technology catching up with the series, they could finally have actual 3D graphics. Lots of changes were made to this one, with the courses now having a variety since they could now include loops and hills. You got 5 different gameplay modes, you have customization, and I haven't played a whole bunch of F-Zero X. I played a little bit, so I think I'll throw over to you guys this one. Zach, I know you have an N64 now, so...
Yeah, I have... This was, I think, one of the first games I actually got on my N64, and I did remember really, really enjoying it. Not as much as GX, but this was still, like, a really fun game to play, and I then got it on the virtual console for the Wii, and I feel like it actually controls a lot better since I could actually use a GameCube controller.
Not the abomination that the N64 has.
Yeah, I will always prefer GameCube controllers to N64 controllers.
It's still hilarious that a Madcatz controller is the best version of the 64 controller that was available at that time. There are now ones that, look like a sane person designed them by third-party people. But there was one by Madcatz where everything was just shunted off to the left, and it was this big fat side that had the stick and the D-pad on, so you could both get them in both the L and the Z, and then the right was like half as big. But it worked a lot better than the regular N64 controller.
I like. I'm thinking back to our Metroid episode now, and we were talking about how someone at Nintendo looked at the N64 controller and went, "Yeah, we can't get a Metroid game on this." And it's like, yeah, but how wasn't every developer thinking that? Like, yeah, we can't get any game on this. I can't think of a single developer that looked at that and was like, "Yes, this is gonna unlock the potential in our games." Like, I get that 3D gaming.
Well, there was Rare who was like, with 2 of those we could do something.
How they managed to get so much out of those controllers. I have no idea. Sure as hell isn't comfortable, but they managed it.
No.
But yeah, we got an F-Zero game. So you saying that you prefer it with the GameCube controller. Tim, what was obviously you would have been there at the time playing it, I assume. So
no, I mean it I can absolutely say it will be better with a GameCube controller, because anything's better with a better controller. But no, it played fairly well, and the interesting thing is that it spawned. I'm trying to think if it came out before or after, but there were actually a number of F-Zero clones that were like Extreme G, yeah. And they were basically attempts to be like a motorcycle F-Zero and whatnot. And I remember one of them actually had an N64 controller as one of the playable cars. And I'm like, yeah, no, it makes much more sense as a spaceship than as a controller. I might have said that joke before. I've said it a number of times. But anyways, no, F-Zero X was great.
That's what we're here for.
It was great, and I actually wish some of its game modes would come back, specifically the endless procedural loop system.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I had procedural generation then.
I
Yeah.
think it wasn't. Was that in the Death Race?
It was in the Death Race, and you could do it in just its own mode, and you could try to go as long as you could.
See, it always bloody amazes me how in, like, especially with F-Zero GX and stuff, is how much they throw into these games. Like, for the time, just so incredible. I mean, I looked around, like, for the reception at the time to this game, and again, everyone loved it. I think there was some disappointment with there not being, like, a lot of, there not as much detail graphically as I think some people were hoping for. But gameplay-wise, I haven't seen anyone say a bad thing about it. I know, Zac, you wanted to talk about the expansion, how the expansion pack was used for this.
Oh yes, because in Japan they got a disk drive for the N64, and that had there was some things released on it. I think that was how Legend of Zelda Master Quest was released.
Yeah.
First, and F-Zero then got an expansion for it, which added 2 new cups, the ability to create your own vehicle, so that was where that made its debut, the ability to edit tracks, and it also came with more clearer music, and I believe some of the music actually got altered, so it looped longer, so the
Okay.
a lot longer, so.
So, like, again, it was just sort of pushing the genre forward because it could and just showing off, like, hey, look what we can fucking do. Okay, yeah, that's really... I mean, I'm guessing that didn't get released outside the West, or outside of the East, sorry, because...
It didn't, and it's very unfortunate because one of the songs that I really like, that's only on the disc drive, is a F-Zero version of the Mario 64 Rainbow Road theme.
Oh, that sounds like it must slap.
Yeah, it is.
It does.
I need to listen to that. That sounds like it goes together so well. So at this point, it looks like Nintendo saw some sense. It was like, hey, people seem to like this Captain Falcon dude. You know, let's float him around a bit more. So Nintendo got the sequels out thick and fast. Of course, there's the obligatory handheld game, F-Zero Maximum Velocity. I was looking at the Wikipedia page, and there's like surprisingly deep lore for this one. It says there that it happens. It takes place 25 years after the first game. It doesn't have Captain Falcon in it, and like it had like new characters in it because like the old races have retired. They're living out the glory days now.
Yeah.
So have you? Because I don't know. I saw a bit of gameplay and it seemed to work well. Probably, obviously, I think F-Zero at this point probably better suited to home console. But like, how do you guys, Tim? Have you played Maximum Velocity?
Briefly. I played. There's just so many GPA games, and I've touched a lot of them because it was one of the easiest things to emulate for like ever.
Yeah.
So I don't remember much of Maximum Velocity, but I think I have played it.
Yeah, Zac, have you played Maximum Velocity? I forget now.
I have, yeah, I own it on Game Boy Advance. I believe this was the last F-Zero game to use the classic F-Zero formula of every lap you get a boost, one boost that you can use, and like, so instead of using the health bar as your boost.
Oh yeah, like you got in the later games, yeah. But that's when we got the big boy next, F-Zero GX, the one that I know the most about. This comes out in 2003 alongside an arcade port, F-Zero AX. It's absolutely filled to the brim with content with 41 characters, each of them with a theme song, because of course. And then they all have their own like little movie.
Yeah,
I love that
they
as well.
have their own ending movie.
There's a story mode complete with cinematic cutscenes, which I think is being generous. Some of them have aged interestingly, I think. But most interestingly, this game was actually developed by Sega, or at least a division of Sega, and it really bloody shows that in like the best way possible. I think GX is like Sega at its absolute best, you know, just filling it with so much, you know, like the music, it absolutely slaps in this game. I mean, the gameplay is phenomenal. But yeah, it's just interesting that Sega's best racing game was not one of its properties. So Zac,
are you trying to say that
played...
Sega and All-Star Racers is not its best racing? No, F-Zero GX blows it out of the water.
Exactly. It's like even the good Sonic racing games don't hold a candle to GX.
No,
I feel anyway.
they do not.
And then by this point, I think Sonic racing game wise, we just had Sonic R. So yeah, not really.
Yeah, I think this
creative
was
muscle
just
stuff.
Sonic R.
Yeah. Which I played as a kid for some reason, and I was like, "This is really good. It has to be good. I'm a Sonic fan." We know that well. Just having to enjoy it.
And then you read the comics because you had to like those because you were a Sonic fan.
I actually did.
But you at least got the Fleetway, and not the weird ass Archie comics ones.
No, we read the Archie comics ones, didn't we? We got them in like volumes online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ken Penders.
Oh right, yeah, they would have they would have been over there by that point. Right.
Yeah, well, they'd been re-released in like these big packs and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, we thought they were good.
The Knuckles series, that was great. What happened in it? That's right, nothing.
He had a lot of echidna friends.
Not just echidna friends. He had he met like a horse friend.
I remember this.
It was wacky. It was freaking wacky.
But then you have all of Ken Pender's like really good OCs that he did. All his Knuckles recolors, which was perfectly worth suing Sega over because he absolutely really deserved that. God damn it! Well, thank God Sonic Chronicles wasn't good.
I'd still say Sonic. It was still better than a lot of what he actually did with those that idea. So, oof.
That's true. Story-wise, I would say Sonic Chronicles is a lot better than some of his comic runs.
Yeah,
God,
the 25 years late. I mean, I could shit talk Ken Penders for ages. But let's get back on topic.
I was about to say we end up like deviating to talking about Sonic every week, I think, in one way or another. And this is the second time we have deviated to shit on Ken Penders, I think. So
there's a lot of reasons. Well. There's a lot of reasons.
I'll tell Nirav we did him justice. We talked about Sonic while he wasn't here. So I guess getting back to F-Zero GX, the reason why we're here. Zac, you've played a unholy amount of F-Zero GX. My one question is why?
Well, it's this to say, it is one of my favourite racing games of all time. It is so much fun. Like, the high speed, it is, like, so invigorating to, like, play. And, like, the story mode, it is very difficult, but the satisfaction that you get from clearing it, it is, like, it is so good.
I don't think I've ever seen you happier than when you clear it. I can remember when you were clearing the missions on like the easiest difficulty and still like cheering. And I can remember the stress when you're trying to do it on the hardest difficulty. Zac has a habit of when he's stressed with a game to start doing character voices.
Yeah.
So you started doing Mario and Luigi voices was a popular one. Sometimes you slip into
horribly
Metal Gear.
Swearing at Captain Falcon.
Yeah,
Get better at racing.
What else? Scottish comes out a lot. You turn Scottish when you're angry. Yeah. I'm not sure how that works, but it does.
I think that's something intrinsic to the British Isles. The angrier an Englishman gets, the more north they get, until eventually they turn into a Scotsman.
So, Tim, I'm guessing you played this game as well.
I have indeed.
You as well. Why?
It's great fun. Like, it's visually gorgeous. The sense of speed is amazing. Even if you lose, you don't care because it was just such a rush. The music slaps. The speedrunning scene for it is ridiculous, especially if you've ever seen a tool-assisted speedrun, because tracks are a suggestion, not a rule.
A suggestion. Oh wow. Yeah, I imagine the speedrunning is. I imagine you have to have a fuck ton of patience for it. But
oh yeah,
it is so enjoyable. I mean, that's why I haven't even been gaming that much this week because I've just been watching Zac play F-Zero GX, and it's so entertaining. Even if I don't really understand what's going on, it's just it is so entertaining.
Faster cargo Noom win.
Exactly. That's all I need to know. So
Yeah, do not bother yourself with a deep, and it is, in fact, very, very deep lore of F-Zero. Did you know there have been several Captain Falcons over the years? It's a mantle handed down from individual to individual.
Zach, were you aware of this?
I was sort of aware of this. I think the anime does do that at one point, because...
Yes.
Yeah.
You're telling me Douglas Falcon isn't the only Captain Falcon?
There are many.
Also, is the one in the games, that's Douglas, isn't it?
I
Yes,
believe so.
I believe
yeah,
so.
Douglas.
What a name. Douglas.
Also, depending on when you look at them, the Metroid and Star Fox series are both canon to F-Zero.
Oh, wow.
Because there is mention of the F-Zero circuit in one of the primes, I believe, and in several of the endings of Star Fox Assault, Fox and or Falcon can go join F-Zero.
Okay, so if you're an F-Zero fan in pure cope mode right now, technically Metroid's revival means F-Zero's revival, since they're in the same universe, part of the Douglas Falcon cinematic universe. So
yes.
So
but yeah, the Galactic Federation that is mentioned repeatedly in Captain Falcon's backstory is heavily implied to be the same Galfed of Metroid.
Nintendo, you cowards! Give us the crossover we deserve, but not in Mario Kart.
It's called Smash Brothers.
Oh yeah, shit. Forgot about that little indie series.
They really are the same federation then, because they're useless in both Metroid and F-Zero.
Exactly.
So the Federation, which I'm presumably is against the weird alien happenings in Metroid, somehow is completely fine with children getting into a deadly race and dying in F-Zero.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, they were okay with a literal child raised by aliens donning power armor to save them from other aliens trying to steal the first aliens' hyper-technology secrets.
Yeah, I would really like to sit on a council meeting in the Federation, because I'm not sure who's coming up with these ideas.
Well, at least in the case of Samus, it's, we ain't got no better idea. She's from there.
But, at what point are they going to set, a minimum age to join the F-Zero Cup? Because wasn't one of the characters 8?
Yeah, the youngest human character is 8.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was a weird one.
Unless you count Blood Falcon, in which case he's 4.
Blood Falcon is such a weird just thing in general.
I remember I was watching the final cutscene when you were doing the story missions, and isn't the ending of F-Zero hinge upon a belt?
Yeah, a belt. a belt that contains the creators of the universe in it or something.
And that's what
which
Douglas and Blood, is that his first name? Blood? Can I call him Blood?
Yeah. It's actually hemoglobin, but blood to his friends.
I like to think we're on first name basis now. So this was again, groundbreaking success from what I can see. 1.5 million copies according to an interview in 2018. It's still critically acclaimed to this day. Many people are drawn back to it because of its insane difficulty. It's got a lot of replay value, and just the sheer amount of content in it as well means you could keep playing it for ages. But this point, in the face of such groundbreaking success, is where the franchise got a bit weird, I think. So the next game was another GBA title, F-Zero GP Legend. This came out the same year as GX and actually ties in with the F-Zero anime, which I am occasionally reminded by Zac exists.
Yep.
I still can't quite get over how that translates to anime form. I guess, yeah.
Captain Falcon is a tokusatsu hero.
Let's just
He
talk
wields
about
the power of the Falcon. That belt it's very much a Kamen Rider super belt that he wears and lets him do Fire Phoenix BS. Later on, he doesn't need the belt because he's just that awesome, but yeah.
He just needs to believe in himself. The real
Yeah,
belt was
basically,
the
yeah.
friends we made along the way. So, how would you rate the anime? Is it worth watching?
I would say it's worth dipping your toes in just for the sheer ludicrousness of it all, and the performances are stellar. Like, you're going to be getting cheese, so go in expecting ham and cheese, and you will eat well.
So you're a fan of the anime, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a fan of the anime as well, but I watched the Japanese one with subtitles because I couldn't actually find a English dub anywhere, and apparently I think the English dub was done by 4Kids.
Oh wow!
So...
Yes, it was. It was in fact done by 4Kids.
We need to find it. I want to see them butcher it.
It's out there somewhere. But no, either way, you're gonna get ham. But they made a lot of weird changes to the dub version, from what I remember.
Of course they did. It's 4
it's 4
kids. It
kids.
has to be. Oh my god. So I'm guessing the
It was
anime
actually one of the last things 4Kids did.
Is it? Oh, what a feather in their cap to round it off.
I'm trying to remember when 4Kids actually disbanded.
Oh no, I don't actually know. I mean, their crimes were eventually answered for, I guess, and they stopped.
Yeah.
But so the anime, how long did it go on for?
I believe. I think the America and Europe, I think they got I think it was just one season, and I think the rest of the episodes were Japanese exclusive, I think.
Oh, so they were
Yeah.
hard to track down.
Yeah.
Because people weren't preserving the tale of Douglas.
Yeah.
Falcon.
I think it didn't get that many views outside of Japan, I don't think.
Yeah, no, we only got 15 in English, but Japan got the full 51.
51, Christ. That's
Yeah.
more than I thought it would get.
It was a one-a-week, year-long show, basically.
So this is what I mean by the franchises being in a really weird place at this point, because you had F-Zero GX doing really well. It had the mandatory tie-in anime, which, as I seem to recall, this was a good time for mandatory tie-in animes for your game franchise. But then after that, the anime ended and we get the final game, which feels like way too soon to be saying that when we've just come across the 1.5 million copy success of GX. We get F-Zero Climax, which was a Japanese exclusive GBA game. What happened there with Climax? Why is it called Climax as well? That's not an appropriate name.
I don't know why it's called Climax. Maybe the anime explains it. But,
It's essential it's called Climax.
but I know it did have some things in it, like a track creator in it, and it also added a few characters that weren't in GP Legend. It was mostly just, I think it was mostly just characters that appeared at the end of the anime, like in the final few episodes of the anime.
But how, I guess this is to both of you, how do we go from groundbreaking success of F-Zero GX and obviously success of F-Zero X, success of the first game, to Japanese exclusive title and then 16 years of radio silence?
Yeah.
How do you go from one to the other? Can anyone really explain this one?
I actually do have a theory.
Yeah.
They were so afraid of ruining it that they did not want to risk it, because they had made something so perfect in GX and GP, the anime, that they're like, okay, we can do a couple of, handheld titles, but how the hell are we gonna top that? Like, I actually think that a lot of what they've been doing with the Mario Kart series, especially with Mario Kart 8, has been them testing the waters to try and jump back onto an F-Zero. Like,
that would track
the zero gravity, the 200cc, the literal, Falcon and Big Blue track. So
yeah. No, that does track with stuff we've talked about before, like with the Metroid games. Why they were so hesitant to make a 3D Metroid game was because they didn't think they could make anything better than what they'd already done in the SNES, and they're very protective of the brands. And this also tracks with the news we've heard recently about why the demo, which I'll talk about in a second, was rejected, because apparently they told the people who were pitching it that they are scared of ruining one of their old IPs and said, can you make this a new IP instead? We don't want to tarnish the reputation of it. But I guess because now F-Zero has skipped to consoles, skipped the Wii, skipped the Wii U, any of you think it had any potential on those consoles to sort of, because I know Nintendo's big on like the sequel has to bring something new to the table. Do you think the Wii and Wii U could have done that?
I don't think an F-Zero would have worked on Wii because F-Zero requires like precision and motion controls can't do that.
Yeah, and they probably would have had to like shoehorn some motion controls in, I imagine, if it was an early release anyway. Well, the Wii U, that seems a bit better.
The Wii U, they could have done something, especially with the touchscreen.
Yeah. So maybe you're right then, saying that like Nintendo just thought, well, what can we do? Like, would they just be reinventing the wheel with a sequel at this point? Because I guess every entry has looked very distinct from one another, and like the progress is very evident as soon as you just look at it. I guess they're just scared in not being able to do that. It's like Metroid. They made the games too good, and then there's nothing else to bring in.
One thing that they could do with the Switch version, because the Switch has independent accelerometers in the Joy-Cons, if they want to do like some motion controls, and this is something that you could replicate in like the Pro Controller a little bit with twin sticks and some pressure sensitive stuff, is independent thruster control. But I don't know how well that would necessarily translate, but it would give the fact that these are jet-powered hover cars an interesting, look. Alternately, they could just go full red line.
I can actually see that working really, really well, and maybe being. I think that's probably how the series is going to have to progress, because I doubt Nintendo's going to want to just do the same thing again. But like, what would you actually want from a sequel? If you had the power and the resources and Nintendo for some reason greenlit it, what would you want from an F-Zero sequel?
Have you seen the anime Redline?
No, I have not.
Well, watch it. It is gorgeous. But no, it is about this ridiculous, over-the-top, Mach 3 and higher race on alien planets. And so F-Zero has given us gorgeous tracks with loop-de-loops and all that. What I would love to see from it is more, like, not necessarily interacting with the environment, but like tracks set in weird locations, not just inside cities, but like running through mountains and, with weird, crazy nonsense just to deal with.
I think that's definitely what I would want from a sequel, based on like my limited time playing it. It's because the best thing about F-Zero is just, I was saying this to Zach earlier, like, you can put anything in this series and it works because it's so absurd, and that's its charm. Zach, what would you want from an F-Zero sequel? I imagine you've already spent years pining for it at this point.
I would say have do what GP Legend did on GBA and have multiple story modes instead of just focusing on Captain Falcon, because F-Zero has a lot of characters and you get like little bits of lore with them through their character bios, but I would actually really love to see it in cutscenes and that.
Yeah, no, I do completely agree. I mean, I just like looking through the bios because they like, you can just tell they had so much fun with the team creating all these characters, and it is such a diverse world that anything works. You had the freaky looking triplets that you were playing as. Yeah. You got aliens. You got 8-year-old boys for some reason, and then hardened bounty hunters as well. It's anything works. Everything is here. Truly, everyone is here. Rather, it. Definitely, and I think just in general, Nintendo, please remember that he's not a Smash character. He has games. A lot of people even enjoy them. And I guess that brings us to the latest news. Now, I definitely wasn't expecting to be scrolling through social media and seeing F-Zero in the news, but it was. So this comes from an interview with Giles Goddard, who has worked on the Star Fox series. His team pitched a demo to Nintendo for an F-Zero game, but it was rejected. I had a look at what he was saying about the idea, and it was definitely trying to bring something new to the series. He was focusing on, getting as many races as he could possible working. The demo was apparently a sandbox with over 100 races going at the same time. He was going for like hyper-realism, and the idea was that if you damaged someone's cart, then it changed the way it like felt to operate, and I'm guessing that sort of ties into what Tim was saying with like actually controlling the thrusters and the jets and everything. So they pitched that to Nintendo, and he didn't say anything bad about the actual gameplay. It was purely based on the fact that it was a pre-existing IP, and Nintendo basically said like, can you make it a new IP? And he didn't say anything about this project continuing. He seemed quite dead set on it being an F-Zero game. I guess, do you think that we're going to get an F-Zero game on Switch?
I'm, to be honest, not really.
Yeah, I'm not hopeful for it. I could maybe see them announcing it for the Switch 2, but
probably a bit late in the day now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think we probably had the most serious revivals we're going to see on the Switch so far. I think any other comebacks are going to have to be for the next console at this point. I mean, they've already got a lot of projects, I guess, and I think a new F-Zero game would take a lot of resources. But then again, we haven't had a Mario Kart in a while, have we? That could be what the racing team at Nintendo are focusing on.
They're focusing on the mobile Mario Kart.
Don't say that. No, it didn't happen.
They
never made it.
They're still doing updates to it.
It's still making them a butt ton of money. It is filling Nintendo's war chest even further.
I played it for like the first week, and I had a fun old time on it. When commuting was a thing before the world fell apart, I had fun playing that during the commute. And then the microtransactions hit it like a ton of bricks, and they wanted like 50 quid?
40 quid to unlock Diddy Kong.
Yeah, and that's when I was like, no. I am tapping out of this one. No, thank you. But I guess they've got people hooked on it, and it must be making them a lot of money, because, yeah, I still see it's getting updates somehow. Mario Golf.
And Fire Emblem Heroes, I think, are going to bankroll Nintendo for the next decade alone.
Yeah, they don't need F-Zero. They've got
the thing, they can make F-Zero all they want. They don't have to care how much it makes. They've got their money train just rolling in.
That's a good point. God, imagine that. Imagine if after all this time F-Zero came back as a mobile game.
I would cry.
I would literally be so concerned for your safety if that happened.
They're gonna lock my favourites behind the frickin' RNG, aren't they?
They probably will, loot boxes.
Yeah.
Oh god. Alright.
Captain Falcon's an ultra rare.
Oh, don't. Alright, sadness aside, does this series have enough ghosts?
I would say yes.
You got satisfied
Yeah,
with
it
the
actually
amount of ghosts?
does.
Okay, what ghosts?
Especially because you can race against your own ghost.
Oh, there you go.
There's ghost data in GX. The story mode's finale actually has you racing against ghosts.
Yep.
Okay, so this is probably one of the first times we've talked about a game in the series, and it's like, yeah, satisfied with the amount of ghosts.
I mean, the ghosts come out of nowhere, but they're in it.
Okay, there we go. We have ghosts, guys. Thanks, Nintendo. Okay, I guess, yeah, that's F-Zero. I guess the series itself is a ghost, so there you go.
Yeah,
Nintendo.
It's not the rise and fall, it's the rise and stall. It just stopped.
Yeah, definitely. So, Nintendo, in conclusion, please, when I was researching this, I found a lot of people still like these games. Please look at them, and maybe F-Zero GX hasn't actually had a re-release, has it?
It has not, because it's a GameCube game.
Why
all GameCube games that are not Mario or Zelda do not get re-releases.
That is not 100% true.
Okay, yeah, I did
Pikmin.
Metroid Prime. Oh yeah,
Pikmin and Metroid Prime.
And the Prime games.
It's actually criminal how stingy they are with the GameCube re-releases, though. GameCube has some bloody bangers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's like Melee hasn't even had a re-release. I guess because they want people to forget Melee ever happened.
Yeah.
Nintendo hates Melee. It is just...
Well, I mean, have you seen Melee players?
Yeah, to be fair.
Well, that's just Smash players in the whole.
Yeah, Smash players in general.
Yeah.
I can see why Nintendo tries to give them a wide berth.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening to the rise and stall of F-Zero, as Tim put it. thanks for listening to that. I guess, guys, tell me where we can see more of your stuff. Tim, obviously you're at GameLuster, but where can people find you?
Hiding in the darkness where you least expect me.
Nice.
Also, though, actually, no. You can see my wife Kate and I did a 48-hour film project this year, and that'll be up on YouTube on Bottom Shelf Film eventually, and you can see previous entries there. It's a group of films done by our friends, so go give it a watch.
Oh wow! So it's 48 hours film. That's when you have to make a film in 2 days.
Yes.
Oh wow, that must have been a lot of fun, but also stretching a challenge to say the least.
Oh yes, after filming we slept, and some say we have not yet woken up.
So what was your role in the film? Like what side did you take?
We were in a high stakes poker game, and our horrible secrets would be revealed if we lost, and I was the guy who went out first. And my horrible secret was that I drunk drove and ran somebody over, so I had to do both stunt drunken falls and stunt driving. I had to weave back and forth along a road and just narrowly miss a camera.
Oh my god, that's dedication to the craft there. Oh god, imagine explaining that to the police. Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking that out. Zac, obviously I don't think you're big on the Twitter, but
I have a Twitter.
You do have a Twitter, which he's digging out the @ because he's that active on it.
I can't.
I mean, I know what my @ is, but I don't want anybody on it. I don't want anybody on Twitter in general. Let's be honest. No.
Yeah, avoid Twitter.
But yeah, if for some reason you're interested in the words that come out of my mouth, you can find me on Twitter at Zachary_Mitch01.
Hey. Yeah, but yeah, you tweet about F-Zero, so that's relevant to the podcast.
Yeah.
You tweet about Mortal Kombat if anyone's interested in that. Sonic fan pain in general.
Yeah, a lot of fan pain. Yeah.
So my stuff is I'm now writing over at thegamer.com. I've done some stuff recently on. I talked to some experts on gambling and loot boxes. So if you're interested in that depressing ass subject, I guess to tie it to microtransactions that we talked about earlier, check that out. If for some reason you're on the hell site known as Twitter, you can follow me at @re_Bevan, and you can find Nirav, who is a ghost this episode, at Gandhizi, and you can find the podcast at Gamebusters Pod. Oh, I remembered all the ats. Go me. See Nirav, I got this. Also, I just want to take this opportunity to thank every one of you listening, because we managed to hit a milestone in June. We got up to 160 listeners a week, which is bloody amazing. I still fail to believe that when we're talking, we're not just talking to the void. So if you're listening to this, thank you so much. It means the world to us that we can do this thing that we enjoy, and people seem to enjoy it as well, so that's great. If you're listening on some sort of service that does ratings, we appreciate a good rating always. Yeah, Nirav will be back next week, but in the meantime, have a lovely week, and thank you for listening. I was just going to finish it like that, but then I remember we've got Tim with us, so Tim, have you got some sort of voice you want to take us out on?
Falcon Punch!